Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So today I'll be talking more about the cases, right? Because obviously we're dealing with Service Cloud certification, and cases forms a very important part. I do appreciate the fact that you guys been very patient and you guys been following along. Um, like for instance, the last episode I do understand was more theory heavy, right? Where I talked about the mobile rollout. Nevertheless, I still believe that mobile rollout is very important, or for that matter, any kind of rollout, right? The strategies that goes behind the scene really it makes or breaks the rollout process, right? So if you haven't watched it, I highly encourage you to check it out. Another thing I just wanted to mention, right? If you guys been um, following my content using my website, Inspirate the solution, you might have seen the website is down. Yes, we have deliberately taken it down for a day or two because so what happened was the hosting platform, right? They decide to upgrade certain things, and that has an impact on the code from a web perspective. So I've asked my web developer to have a look at it. So he's working on it. So it will be up and running in no time, right? So just wanted to mention that out. And last but not the least, if you're hearing a noise, it's a rain that's happening behind the scene, it's the background noise. In case if you are able to hear that, weather's been crap, right? Because we are in autumn in New Zealand, so I'm not sure if you're in New Zealand, other parts of New Zealand, like in Auckland or Wellington. I presume the weather is pretty much the same. In Palmerston North, where I live, right, the weather is crap. It's been raining whole day. All right, so sorry I digress, but I just thought I put that across. Right, so now we talk about the case, right? So one thing I really wanted to mention, right? So why do we use case first of all, right? So you run a company and you provide service to your customer, and customer realize, oh, there is an issue with the product, right? So they try to raise a support case so that someone from a support team will try to address it, and then perhaps you will eventually get a solution to your problem. That's great, but have you ever thought about a scenario, right, where a customer raises a case, right, and it stays in the queue, right, for like 4 to 5 days, and you wonder what the heck going on? So that's exactly what we're going to build. So the scenario is, right. So my company deals with solar panels, right? Just a fictitious company, right? For the sake of this demo, and if a customer raises any issues around solar panel, that should be escalated. So, say for instance, if the case stays in the queue for say 3 hours without being touched, it has to be escalated to the urgent queue. Okay. So what we're gonna do to support the process, we're gonna build two support process. One I will name it as the urgent process. Another name will as non-urgent process. Right. And then I'll create a record type uh, to support that, and then we will build the escalation rule. It's pretty simple, right? So let's dive in. All right, so let's look at the case object first, right? That's the area of interest. So let's go to the case. Um, and the important thing is, so let me go to the case here. And let me try to create a case, right? And let's see what all the fields we are using, right? So we got the priority, the status. So these things will change, right? So what I'm going to do, I will create a record type to support the priority, which is high for urgent case, and the case urgent phone, because I will mark the email as and web as a non-urgent, and the type. I'm going to add a type called solar panel here, okay? All of the types I will consider as non-urgent types, right? So the first thing first, let's go to the case object and add extra value to this type. That's a solar panel, right? So you go to this gecko icon, go to the edit object, and it's taking its own time. All right, cool. Go to fields and relationships, uh, type, go to type, right? And And what I'll do, I will add new, and I will type solar panel. So I hope you guys know how to add value to existing type, right? It's pretty simple, right? Go here, add new, or you can reorder if you like to do it, but I'm not interested at this stage. All right, so let's go back to the setup. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll look for support process, right? Because this is related to the case, right? So I'm going to do support process. We're going to create two processes here. Like I mentioned, urgent process and non-urgent process, right? So go to new, existing support process. We'll keep it as a master because we got none anyways. Yeah, urgent. All right, we already got urgent cases. It's good to have description for now, just keep, because it's a good practice to, it doesn't matter in terms of the process or any object you create. I personally believe that any process you do, right, no matter it's an object creation, field creation, um, record type, you should add description to it. It's very important because let's say you get hit by a bus for whatever reason, right, and someone else has to look at your code base, right? That person will struggle if you have no description in place. So this is a good practice. If you're using, say, a static code analysis in place, and if you have a rule which set in place that you need to add a description, then it will flag it as an error or a warning, whatever the type your code analysis supports. So yeah, all right. Sorry, I digress. Click on save. All right. So this is important, right? Now, what all uh, the statuses you want for this case, right? So I'm not after new, right? So I'm only after escalated and uh, escalated, close, and decline, right? I'm not after new and working because this is a pretty urgent case. It has to be straight away escalated. I know you might say that this is a pretty bizarre business scenario, but just for the sake of demo, assume that this is how we wanted it, right? This is a business process we decide to go with. Okay, so that's fine for the urgent case. Now let's do that for a non-urgent case, right? So we have in place as well. Um, all right, so in this case, I'm not interested in escalated. Yeah, I'm not interested in new, working, close, decline, right? Okay, so fantastic, right? Right, now we have support process in place. Now what we're going to do, we will create a record type. Um, I mean, the record type, the one thing I have to warn you with the record type, right? Just don't go crazy on record type, right? I mean, you can do a lot using Lightning Page or using page layouts, right? And then you can control it using profiles, right? Um, that being said, right, you just need to understand the implication. If it's a business process, which is drastically different, record type makes sense. But let's say if you have 50 types, and you're building record type for every single type, that's a very poor architecture, in my personal opinion. I have seen that though, so just letting you guys know. So it's case by case, right? So record types are handy. I'm not saying it's not handy. It's great, but you have to be careful where you're going to use it, and right, you have to understand the pros and cons. All right, so let's go to the case and go to the record types. So I'm going to do new two, right? One is I will just do the urgent case, record type, and support process, urgent case, and just want to keep the name consistent. So I'm not going to worry about the profile yet. So just keep it as such. But you need to be very careful, right? Because this plays a very important role. Um, Apply to all profiles. Let's just use a simple one. And just want to do save. Okay, now this is interesting now. I'm just going to tell you why. the case origin. Okay, let's go to case origin. So when you're going to use this record type, right? So do you want to see all the three options? Absolutely not. So I don't want to see phone, email and web. So I'll mark it here. Let's look at the priority. I'm just going to only say hi and just going to do save. Let's look at the type. Right, I just don't want any of the type here. I'm just going to move it all over here and just keep it one. Okay, so that's good to go. Let's create the non-urgent one, right? So you're going to do new and I'll just say non-urgent case, right? Record type name, non-urgent case. Just want to mark it active. Just make it available, right? For now, for the sake of argument. But like I said, you need to be very careful with the profile settings. So, and just do save. Okay, here, case origin. I'm not interested in the phone at this stage. And here, I'm not in priority. I'm not going to mark it as high. So I don't need high at this stage. Let's go to the product. Oh no, sorry, not this one. Makes no sense. Just gonna go to type, and I don't want solar panel for it. Okay, that's done. Now let's create a queue, right? Obviously, I mean, you can create a queue or you don't have to create a queue. But so queues like, let's say, I want every solar panel case to be pushed to a queue, which is looked after by an escalation team, right? So instead of assigning to a single person, like I said, what if that person get hit by a bus, right? So it's good to have more members associated with the queue so that if one person is away, another person can pick up the case, right? So that's the analogy. That's the reason behind it. So let's look for queues. What I'll do urgent case queue, right? I don't care about the queue emails or description or whatever. I'm just going to do the case object, right? And I'll just put my name to it. Fantastic, right? This is pretty simple so far. I hope it's clear. Right, now we built the support process. We did the record types, built the queue now. Now we have to configure the escalation rules, right? So, I mean, all of this thing you can find in this setup, right? I didn't mention how to go to setup because it's an understanding, right? I assume that you guys already know because the prerequisite for Service Cloud is admin certification, and admin, I would assume you guys would have worked enough with this, setting options, setting few things, right? So I would pretty much assume you guys know how to go to setup, right? Cool. So escalation rules, right? So what I'll do, I will just go to new, say urgent case. I'm just going to mark it active. I just need to check one more thing. That is whether both of my record types are active. So I'm just going to double check it. So I've created the escalation rules. Now let's get inside the escalation rules to add the rules. So let's create a rule entry, so which will trigger this escalation rule, right? So what I'll do, so the case type, I would say equals to solar panel. That's good enough to trigger the escalation rule. So I'm just going to save. I'll keep everything as just only when the case is created, right? I'm not interested in other aspect, right? Only when the new case is created, it should be escalated. Okay, so I've created that criteria which will trigger this escalation rules. Now, escalation action, right? When you think this should get activated, right? So you can say after 30 minutes, or let's say I want after 3 hours, right? And do you want to assign to your user? No, I want to assign to the queue, which I built right now. So it's an urgent case queue. You can notify the user. You can put a notification template. You can put an email. So you can do all of this stuff, right? For now, for the sake of demo, I'm just keeping it simple, right? That being said, like I said, you can notify the case owner if you wanted to notify the case owner, which is pretty cool, right? The person who created the case. So yeah, that's cool. Right, sorry. All right, what I'll do, I'll just create a notification template. Uh, no, that's a stupid template. I'm not doing for password email change. Okay, phone inquiries, right? Support created, so it makes kind of sense. Right, okay, now let's go back to the case. Um, Active, fantastic. Excuse me. I'm going to refresh this org. Let's create a case, right? I mean, I can't demonstrate whether it's go to escalation rule, but I'll just tell you where to look for it. Just going to get a case. Now, you'll see a difference, right? Sorry, when you create a case, create new. You see you got two things here. So I'm going to do urgent case. Status, you got only two. Remember, we configured it. The priority is only high. And case origin phone. Type, solar panel. Right? And I'll just say test, whatever, right? Description. And if this case didn't get closed within 3 hours, it will be escalated, right? So if the case, if nobody is working on the case, right? If it's sitting in the queue doing nothing, it will get routed to the escalation queue. So this is in a nutshell, right? How the escalation process works. So you can also go to setup. I tell you, Service Cloud is the most easiest when it comes to certification because, but at the same time, it's very important to understand, right? I mean, this is very good, not only from a functional consultant perspective, right? If you're a tech consultant, it's good to know, right? Because it's good to understand nitty-gritty stuff around Service Cloud, which you may or may not get it from an admin cert. Right, so just gonna look for escalation. Case escalation. This is a monitoring, right? Any kind of escalation happens. So let's say case to escalation rules equals whatever, right? I don't know. I'll just let me see now. I'll search if something is there. So there were a few in place, right? You see, there is an urgent case. It's went to the escalation, right? So this will get routed after 3 hours to the escalation queue, right? So that's an urgent case, so which is went to escalation because of the criteria that's met by escalation rules. So yeah, this is all I wanted to cover. I hope you enjoyed it. This is important, not only from a certification point of view, but also from a real life implementation experience. The things implementation experience. Sorry, not experiment. Because I always suggest to people, right? Don't take certification just for the sake of it, right? I mean, no offense, because I've seen a lot of people taking certification as a number game, right? And I've seen the way they sometimes come up with a solution, and I just have to say, mate, I'm just giving up because it come up with a bizarre solution at times. And these other people got 15, 16 certification, and just makes me believe, they haven't learned from a practical standpoint, right? It's just for the taking it for the sake of taking it, it's pointless, right? Because when you go for an interview, right? For me, if someone comes to me for an interview, I don't care if you have certification. It's nice to have, right? But for me, what matters is your previous experience, right? If you have no idea about how the platform works, your certification is pointless for me, right? So, sorry, I digress, but I just thought to put it out anyways. So that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing Thursday. Adios.